The Rosebrook Country Club smelled like money, power, and quiet cruelty, the kind of place where people don't speak loudly, they just judge loudly. I stepped inside in a black Chanel dress, and the coordinator didn't even glance up before shoving a thumb toward the service hallway. Staff goes through the back. My daughters-in-laws barely hid their approval. Perfect. Let them underestimate me. Let them think I'm the help. Because the moment they tried to escort me out of the ballroom, none of them realized they were trying to humiliate the woman who owns the vineyard supplying their champagne and the country club they're standing in. Tonight, I wasn't the one on trial, their entire dynasty was. The Rosebrook Country Club's grand ballroom shimmered like a jewel in the fading light of the late afternoon sun. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, scattering tiny rainbows over the faces below, faces that had clearly seen more cosmetic surgery than genuine kindness. The air smelled faintly of expensive perfume, mingling with the soft buzz of anticipation as old money and new pretension mingled uneasily, each trying to outshine the other. I noticed the wedding coordinator tapping away at her tablet with a level of concentration that suggested nothing and no one could interrupt her, not even me. The help entrances around back, she said finally without lifting her eyes. Service staff must use the service corridors. I glanced down at my understated Chanel dress. Classic black, elegant yet modest. The sort of outfit that spoke volumes to those who deceptively simple to anyone who only noticed labels. Actually, I'm Mom. My daughter Lisa's voice caught slightly as she hurried toward me, her excitement mixed with that familiar twinge of anxiety. You made it. The coordinator's head jerked up in surprise, finally taking me in. Oh, Mrs. Chan, I didn't realize. It's fine, I said quietly, my eyes following the Huntington family as they swept into the room with their usual show of dominance. They acted like they owned everything. In truth, I did, along with nearly every other property in this exclusive enclave. Lisa, darling, Margaret Huntington's voice cut sharply across the room, a blade disguised in velvet. Why aren't the servers circulating with champagne? This is supposed to be a rehearsal dinner, not a dry run for disappointment. My daughter's shoulders stiffened. Over the past year, I had watched Lisa dim her natural brightness to fit Bradley Huntington's family expectations. I knew the weight she carried, the constant pressure to blend into their world. I'll check with the staff, she said softly, starting to turn. But Margaret's eyes had already landed on me. You with the catering company? We need more champagne. Grand Cru. Not that domestic swill you tried earlier. I bit back a smile, thinking of the Shan family vineyards in France, where that very swill had been carefully aged. Another little secret the Huntingtons had no idea about. Mother Lisa began, but I touched her arm gently. It's okay, sweetheart. I'll handle the champagne. Bradley appeared beside her, looking slightly uncomfortable in his perfectly tailored tuxedo. Lisa, father wants to discuss the print-up adjustments. I smoothed down my daughter's hair, whispering reassurances. Adjustments. Just minor tweaks, nothing more. Bradley assured her they were standard protections. Sure. I could hear my own lawyers smiling quietly in the background. The documents they had prepared to safeguard Lisa's trust fund and shares in Chun Global from precisely this sort of family negotiation. Margaret was still waiting, her gaze sharp. Well, the champagne, I said smoothly. Heading toward the service area behind me, Bradley's sister Cordelia murmured in a stage whisper to Lisa, Darling, you really must speak to the help about proper attire. That woman's dress is clearly above her station, probably a knockoff. In the kitchen, the real catering staff was busy arranging the tables and glasses with practiced efficiency. Their supervisor looked flustered at the sudden appearance of a guest in their domain. Double quotes. Mrs. Chun, we didn't expect you. I mean, the champagne service is all ready. It's fine, Michael. I'm apparently on drink duty tonight, I said, selecting a bottle of Krug, though not the one they expected. His eyes lit up with understanding. Second cellar, special reserved for people who actually appreciate it. I arranged the flutes on a silver tray, asking casually, How are they treating you? Like we're invisible, he shrugged. Not for long, I promised. Back in the ballroom, Bradley III hovered uneasily while his father, a man accustomed to authority, held court near the fireplace. Really, Lisa? There's no need to be difficult about the new clauses. It's just good business to protect old family assets. My daughter's voice, usually bright and confident, dropped to a whisper. But my shares, My mother's. Your mother's modest investments shouldn't concern us. He waved dismissively, oblivious to the years of careful work Lisa's mother had poured into her businesses. I glided forward with the champagne tray, holding the special bottles like a quiet challenge. Margaret seized a glass without even acknowledging me. Finally, though, efficiency was not something we could expect from temporary staff. Speaking of staff, Bradley, I turned to Lisa. We should discuss minimizing your mother's role in the wedding photos. Appearances matter in our circle. I watched my daughter's face falter, remembering the little girl who used to brag about her mother building computers that went to space. The teenager who had interned in my company every summer, learning the business from the ground up. The young woman who had earned her MBA independently rather than riding my coattails. Mr. Huntington, I said quietly, offering the glass. Your champagne. He took it without looking. Yes. Now, Lisa, about the shares your mother gave you. They're really quite negligible compared to Bradley's trust fund. I think it's best if we fold them into the family portfolio. Those shares, Lisa said, her voice gaining strength, are my inheritance from a small tech startup, Harley Huntington Enterprises. I cleared my throat. Actually, those shares are in Chun Global Technologies. Current market value, approximately $47 billion. The silence that followed was almost tangible, a tension that made even the chandeliers seem to dim in awe. Bradley 3 turned slowly. What did you say? Chun Global Technologies, or CGT Space Systems as you might know us. The company currently contracted to provide navigation software for NASA. Perhaps you're familiar with our medical technology division, which just acquired Huntington Medical last month. Margaret Huntington's champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the marble floor. Mom, Lisa said softly, a small victorious smile tugging at her lips. I think they finally recognize you. The ballroom was silent, thick enough to cut with one of those silver butter knives the Huntingtons treasured so much. Bradley's face had shifted from aristocratic pale to alarming red. You're Helen Chun. Margaret's voice faltered. Actually, it's Dr. Helen Chen, Lisa said, standing taller now. PhD in computer science from MIT, MBA from Stanford. Though I suppose you'd know that if you had bothered to read her Wikipedia page instead of assuming she was the help. Bradley Forrest stepped forward, bewildered. But you're so Asian, working gas beneath you. I raised an eyebrow. Please finish that thought. I'm curious which prejudice you'll land on. Now see here, Bradley, I said, letting a thin layer of amusement creep into my voice. This is clearly some kind of setup, a practical joke. Like the attempt to seize my daughter's shares through a print-up clause, or like the joke of buying up medical technology patents that mysteriously appeared right after a corporate merger discussions. His face went from red to white. How did you know about those private meetings with your board? The ones where you plan to leverage my daughter's relationship with your son to gain access to Chun Global's propria technology. I smiled. I own building where you held those meetings. The cleaning staff are very thorough in their reports. Cordelia let a strangled laugh. This is absurd. Daddy, tell them this is absurd. Oh, it gets better, Lisa added, her voice gaining strength with each word. Mom, show them your phone. I pulled out Miss Marthone, a prototype not yet available to the public. With a few taps, I brought up security footage from those board meetings, complete with audio. Once the marriage is secured, Bradley's voice echoed clearly throughout the ballroom speaker system. We'll have inside access to Shen Global. The old lady won't even see it coming. Margaret gripped her husband's arm. Turn it off. Why? I asked mildly. It's just getting to the good part where you discuss how to properly manage your new Asian daughter-in-law once she's trapped in a Huntington marriage. Bradley Ivy turned to Lisa, his face ashen. Baby, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Lisa's voice cracked. Or didn't want to know. All those times you pushed to sign papers to transfer shares, topper of my commitment to our future. I loved you, he whispered. No, Lisa straightened her spine. My daughter's spine, not the deer posture they treat to teach her. You love the idea of me. The proper society wife who'd sacrifice everything to fit into your world. The other guests have formed a loose circle around us, smartphones discreetlying every moment. Tomorrow's society pages would be interesting greeting indeed. This is outrageous. Bradley too found his voice again. We are the Huntingtons. We've been in the Forbes 500. We're in the Forbes 500. I corrected gently until last quarter. which is why you needed this merger so badly. Why you pushed for this Maria just so quickly. Comprehension dawned on Lys's face. The rush to set a date, the pressure about the prenup. Mom, did they know they were failing when Bradley proposed? They knew, I confirmed, just like I knew Chun Global was considering gakwing their medical division. They just didn't know I was the CEO they were negotiating with. Margaret stepped forward, switching tactics. Helen, surely we can discuss this reasonably, family to family. Family? Lisa's laugh was bitter. You mean like when you told Country Club Committee that Mimother couldn't attend my engagement party because she wouldn't understand dress code? Or perhaps, I added, like when you assigned me to serve drinks at me own daughter's rehearsal dinner. Bradley Ivy reached for Lisa's hand. Please, we can fix this. No, Lisa, pull it away. We can't, because I finally secularly now. You never loved me. You loved what I represented. Access to the technology your family desperately needed. The merger Bradley Ava started is proceeding as planned. I cut in. Chun Global will acquire Huntington Medical at the reduced price our analysts suggested given your company's actual value. But the wedding, I smiled. That murder is being terminated immediately. Lisa slipped off her engagement ring. The massive diamond catching the light. I believe this belongs to your family, though you might want to have I appraised. I suspect it's not quite as valuable as you claimed. Just like everything else about them, I added softly. The aftermath was everything you'd expect when old money collides with new reality. Bradley Ollie Matt reads about lawyers and connection. I reminded him that my legal team had already documented their attempted corporate espionage. Besides, I said mildly, do you really want the press coverage? Failing dynasty attempt show still takeover through arranged marriage isn't quite the headline the Huntington name needs right now. Margaret made one last attempt at damage control. Surely we can keep this private. Handle it quietly like you handle my mother's presence. At familiar, Lisa's voice carried across silent ballroom, making her nervous entrances, treating her like she was beneath you. We didn't know. Cordelia began. That's worse. Lisa Cuden. You didn't know anything about her, but you decided she was inferior based on how she looked, who she seemed to be. I touched my daughter's arm gently. It's okay, sweetheart. Some people can hone by standing on others. The actual catering staff had gathered at kitchen doors, watching with barrel-like consult satisfaction. Michael, the supervisor, caught my eye and raised an imaginary glass. Mrs. Chun, he keyed out loud enough for everyone to hear. Should we serve the special reservich Pagny now? The one from your vineyard. Margaret Huntington choked on her drink. Your vineyard, just a small investment. I smiled. Along with this country club, the building where your family offices are located, and about 60% of the properties in this zip code. Bradley Ivy stepped forward one last time. Lisa, please. We can start over. Don't do things right. No, Lisa said firmly. We can't, because I deserve someone hollows me for who I am, not what Mimother's company is worth. She turned tone. Though I have to admit, Mom, watching their faces when they realize it, well, you are almost worth these wasted minutes. Speaking of realizations, I added, Bradley, you might want to check your phone. Chun Global's acquisition of Huntington Medical was just announced to the press. Your board approved it. Oh, about 10 minutes ago. His phone was already buzzing frantically. The mighty Huntington empire, built on 3 generations of carefully cultivate social connections, was crumbling in real time. You planned this, Margaret Takest. All of it. No, I corrected her. You planned this. Every time you looped down on someone you thought was beneath you, every time you confused net worth with human worth, I just let you show how you really are. Lisa linked her arm through mine. Ready to go, Mom? I think you've had enough of high society for an evening. Actually, I glanced at Michael and the catering staff. I thought we might stay. After all, I did bring figured champagne. I raised my voice lightly. Everyone who's ever been looked down on by the Huntingtons is welcome to join us. I believe we have some celebrating to do. The ballroom transferred. Servers grabbed glasses. Kitchen staff pulled up chairs, and equally segregated social hierarchy off Rosebrook Country Club dissolved into something real and joyful. The Huntingtons fled, their dignity in tatters, while the help they dismissed champagne worth more than their monthly salaries. You know what this means? Lisa grinned, looking more like herself than she had in months. I'm going to need a new job. That position at Huntington Medical isn't quite appropriate anymore. Funny, you should mention that. I pulled out an envelope. Chin Global's new medical technology division needs a director. someone who understands both thymus and ethical sides of healthcare. The interviews whenever you're ready. An interview? She raised an eyebrow. No nepotism. Fast track, please. I scoffed. You're my daughter. You'll have to work twice as hard to prove yourself. I smiled just like I did. As the impromptu party continued to us, Lisa hugged me tightly. I'm sorry, Mom, for ever being embarrassed for not standing up sooner. May more, I whispered. You stood up exactly when you needed to. And now, I gestured to the mixed crowd of society folks and service staff, all laughing and celebrating. Now you know exactly who you are. A Chan woman. A Chun woman? She agreed. Though maybe next time we'd be out in Alita's family's company. We could do it with slightly less drama. Where's the fun in that? I wait. Besides, someone needs to keep teaching these lessons about judgment and worth. Might as well be us. And with that, mother and daughter raise our glasses. Fine crystal filled with champagne from her own vineyard and toasted to the effect. Blend of revenge and revelation served chilled with just a hint of justice. Follow for the next move because this help is just getting started.